Matthew 6:24 through 26 in the Christian Standard Bible. No one can serve two masters, since either he will hate one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Therefore I tell you, don't worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Isn't life more than food and the body more than clothing? Consider the birds of the sky. They don't sow or reap or gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Aren't you worth more than they? Can any of you add 1 moment to his lifespan by worrying? And why do you worry about clothes? Here, Jesus is giving words of wisdom to a whole crowd of people. He's confronting the anxiety of the people and how we approach our basic needs, money, food, clothes, that kind of stuff. TJ, Blackwell, how do you think this pericope about financial stress can speak to our other areas in life today that we might be worried about? What's next?
I think it's good, just a good passage to keep in mind when, you are worrying about things like, oh, my clothes are old, my car is old. If they work, you're all right. God's going to take care of you. And if your clothes fail, you didn't need them that much. That's what I believe.
You didn't need clothes, or you didn't need your clothes that you had?
Those ones specifically.
Yeah, okay. That checks out. Hey guys, welcome to the finale of our What's Next series, where we're talking about what's next after stuff. We did a lot of things. We did what's next after marriage, after divorce, after just getting back to normal, after going to church in the first place, getting saved, deconstruction, all kinds of stuff. And today we're wrapping it up. We're looking back at our series and thinking, how did that go and what's next after what's next? Yeah, gonna be a fun one. It's just me and TJ for this. TJ. Sometimes it's like when you go to church and you're just like you talk about Jesus and you're like, everybody knows him. If you're on a podcast, you just talk about TJ and assume everybody knows him. As you should.
I've heard that.
Because if they don't know him, you have no business listening to podcasts.
Yeah, that is. Thank you. I've come into this role, I'd like to say gracefully, but I do think you should, if you're listening to us already, check out the Honor Zone Ministries podcast network website. Shows like ours, shows not at all like ours, shows that are just ran by people that we knows. And then if you are still worried about your clothes and God's promise can't assuage you, then check out our merch. We have a lot of comfy clothes. They last a good long while, and we like to wear them. So
that was either the best or worst transition / marketing ploy I've ever heard. I don't know which, but it was one.
It's both.
It was seamless. That's for sure. Unlike our shirts, I don't think they're seamless. I have a seam. Okay. Yeah. All right. Anyway, TJ. Everyone knows, and everyone has been waiting for anticipation. The real reason for the season, the reason for the series. Everyone's been waiting to hear TJ finish the silly story. We've been doing the same silly story this whole series. Instead of a silly question, we always do the holy sacrament of silliness that brings everyone together in perfect unity, as silliness does. And for the series, instead of a question, we've been doing a story. I went first. Our guest went next. And now we'll ask TJ to finish his own story. Once upon a time, TJ was playing ping pong against a sea turtle on board a steam engine train when he, or should I say when you,
down 2 points in the last set of the game, I realized that the turtle has adapted at this point. It had a long, hard battle. We're doing best of 7. And all I had to do at this point was adapt again. The turtle had switched to a much more aggressive, overhand, topspin, slam playstyle. And I realized instead of being tricky, going for my banana flicks, the strawberry flicks, just trying to get the ball off the table and take advantage of the sea turtle with his deceptively fast flippers, that thing can move, I realized I had to go back to the basics and go back to just simple push block, put the ball on the table, and grind it out. And after a long, hard-fought match, the turtle and I shook hands, and the steam engine took us straight to where we were going the entire time, which is the brand new Freddy's Steak Burgers with the train station. It was a good dinner.
And wait, so did you win? To clarify?
Yeah, I won.
Okay. Yeah. Also, I just... not only was that incredible, and I think the most... of all the answers, I feel like that's the one that actually most finished the prompt. I think most of our answers just decided to ignore the prompt and tell some other story, myself included.
Yeah, I do think that's exactly what happened every time.
Yeah, you actually finished the prompt.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. Hats off to you. Glad you won. Glad the turtle did not take over the podcast, as some of these stories alleged. And that Freddy's was good, you know?
I do love Freddy's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took a train to get to a Freddy's one time.
Oh, wait, for real? Like, for real?
No.
Or like, okay. Also, just as like as an aside, like a stupid aside, you know how Florida State really sucks this year? Mm-hmm. Well, I turned on ESPN to watch Florida State, knowing that I was in for misery the other day. A tennis match was on. I was going to switch to try and find the game, and I very quickly realized this is definitely more fun than watching my team lose. And I just watched some random two people play tennis last Saturday. I have no idea who they were, but I cheered for the shorter one because she was losing, and she did come back. And the only reason I brought it up is because when she came back, the announcers were saying a lot of the stuff of like, she just needs to get back to the basics, the push block and all that. And I was like, that's what TJ just said about ping pong. Turns out it works for regular tennis too. And whatever short lady won. I'm proud of her.
Yeah. Tennis and table tennis are similar sometimes.
Similar, yeah.
Sometimes.
It's fun stuff. Anyway, so moving past the silliness, TJ, just to start off, what would you say that we learned from this series? Like, was there anything that was like a big takeaway if you had to like boil it down to, here's the point of the day, kids, with point of the 9 weeks? I don't know.
Yeah. I learned a lot of what, that's really weird. That's a whole semester. But a lot of what, what's next for most people is going to be ask God, return to God, trust God, like our passage today. It's just kind of strange. We asked like 8 different questions, and at some point, everyone was like, ask God about it.
I think the funniest one for me is, and I said it in the beginning too, but I thought I was going to be the weirdo, and that nobody else was going to like answer like me. But it seems like everyone also brought up that whole idea of being present. So it's really funny. We did a series about what's next, and I think for 9 weeks we told people to just be present right now. Still labeled the series What's Next, though. Yeah. Naturally.
Yeah. So how do you think the series may have benefited those listening for the first time?
I actually do think, like, what's really funny is I feel like originally we did it because it was like an excuse to do a different range of topics. But I think that coherent bit is still like the be present, the don't be anxious thing. I mean, even going to like the verses that you and I did, which was different from the verses from all the rest of the series because I just decided we'd be different. I don't know. But like the beginning, and I was doing Ecclesiastes and how there's a day for all things isn't about how sometimes there's good days, sometimes there's bad days. It's about how in all of the days we need to learn to be present. And then today's you're talking about not worrying about our food and clothing because God's got you. And all throughout the series is like, whether it's divorce, marriage, whatever, God is with you right now. So I feel like, if anything, maybe to quit people to be less nervous about the future. Oh, what do you think?
I agree.
Cool.
Yeah, that's just how I live, ever since I got shingles.
Yeah. This series really is helping teach people to be more like TJ. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, everyone's going to be more like TJ. They just might not be as good at podcasting, but...
Yeah, it's part of the assimilation
you can't have
process.
Everything. Yeah. The next series is how to podcast like DJ. We're just going to get real explicit with it.
Extremely.
Yeah.
So this what's next? We did start as a joke, and we were running out of ideas. We've been doing the show for a while, and we joked that we should just start asking guests what we should do. And we've talked to a bunch of church leaders from a lot of different traditions and ethnic backgrounds. We've spoken to people from all over the world. We've done series already on church offices, worship styles, all kinds of things. But hopefully over the past 9 weeks, we've gotten to a place where we can come up with our own ideas again. So, Josh, what do you think we should do next?
So I'm going to answer this two ways. One way is, of all of the guests, I liked a lot of the recommendations. I actually wrote a lot of them down, and we'll probably be doing some of those series because we had some really good ones. Particularly, I loved Brandon Knight's idea of picking books from other traditions and having someone on from a tradition that is not the tradition of the book writer. It's like a book from Martin Luther, and literally anyone who's not Lutheran joins us to talk about it. I think that series would be kind of fun. The other one was Trip Fuller when he was on. He was like, he just get really controversial, and he wanted us to, because you weren't there for that episode, and you don't listen to podcasts, so I have to tell you. But his idea was to get a bunch of people on and basically question them about why their job is necessary. Of like, yeah, get someone on who's in charge of a denomination, be like, are denominations really necessary? And just like really drill into that.
Yeah.
It'd be fun. We'd start with Trip Fuller and ask him, is theology beer camp really necessary?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that'd be funny. But I actually do know what series is next. I've already started planning it. It's in like March. Turns out being the host of the podcast allows you to do that, or being the co-host. Usually the way planning works is I prepare, I think, I pray, and then I plead. I make my case before the great Tejas and say, can we do this next? And there's been a couple times where he said, Josh, I don't think that series is about church unity. But one he approved. I don't know what it's called. For now, I'm calling it the Whole Church Job Fair. We're going to be doing a few different people who are not pastors, aren't professors of Christian colleges, but are normal people who go to church. And we're going to be asking them how these big theological arguments we're having, if they're actually relevant to living Christian life on regular day-to-day basis. Yeah. And I'm excited for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that one does sound
I think we're going to have both of our dads on that series. Or at least my dad and someone you're related to that does welding, hopefully, because I just wrote down Blackwell that does welding.
Okay. I'll get one.
that's the part of the planning stage we're in now, where my notes say Blackwell that does welding. I don't know. Ask Justin if he knows someone in the medical field.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stage I'm planning at. Yeah.
All right.
Good stuff.
Most of my relatives do weld or have welded, so
Yeah.
doesn't really limit my choices very much.
That's funny. Just who do you most feel like talking to on a podcast about theology?
Probably my grandpa.
Oh, that does sound fun. Also, I'm in between my mom or Nick Polk for educator, talking about the education field.
Either or. This is a discussion for some other time.
Yeah, yeah. But it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's about what's next, you know.
So, another thing we've been doing with every guest, we play First Thoughts. I went first for First Thoughts, which is rather fitting, I believe. But, Josh, I need you to pick a number between 1 and 26, or you can answer all of them.
25.
All right. Going to give you exactly that many words in a random order from the list for you to share with us your first thoughts. Are you ready?
Oh, of course.
All right.
Oh, that's not right. Where's it at?
Eucharist.
I don't know why, but pretzel bagel.
Thanksgiving. Not even on the list. That's just that was my first thought. It just snuck in there. And I said it out loud. Beowulf.
Clifford the Big Red Dog. I don't know, man. Well, I'm just, for some reason, my brain's just flipping through people I know's face whose name is Aaron. This is the wonders of my mind. I'm looking at a book called Midnight's Furies, trying to remember whether or not that's a Muslim writer or not. I can't remember.
Dragon.
The Hobbit.
Artist.
I can't remember his name. Kevin Max.
Animation.
Right now I'm thinking of the Animaniacs.
Banana.
Oh, my dad and how much he enjoys the Minions.
Marvel.
Weirdly enough, my first thought was the Psalms.
Okay. Imago
Yeah.
Dei.
I just wanted to laugh because I just sounded like just to me, Imago Dei just sounds funny. That's my first thought is, wow, that's a funny sounding word.
I agree. That's
it.
it.
I'm thinking about My Dog and Fox and the Hound.
Trumpet.
I used to play trumpet in middle school.
Hanukkah.
What's it? Adam Sandler's Hanukkah special?
8 Crazy.
I don't remember the name.
Or
Yeah.
you talking about another thing?
No, that's what I was thinking of.
Okay, politics.
What's our governor? I'm trying to I see her face right now. Nikki Haley. I just saw Nikki Haley's face. That's all.
Gross. Jack.
Sparrow.
Money.
The general idea of sadness.
Bible.
I thought this was bigger.
All right. Panda.
I don't like Panda Express.
Hater. Atonement.
Christ is greater than our explanations of him.
God.
Specifically, I'm thinking of the song "How Great Is Our God."
Jesus.
Well, right now I'm thinking of Christ Jesus by John Mark McMillan. I'm just on songs now. I don't know.
Trinity.
The guy from The Matrix.
Platypus.
Parry the platypus.
All right. That is actually 25 of our 26 words.
May I know which one I didn't answer?
Zoo.
That's fair. I'm not going to answer it because that just feels
that
like
breaks
it's
the
cheating.
rules.
Yeah.
So, what's actually next for the show?
We already did this. I think I messed up.
Next.
Yeah. Before we get to the next series, what's actually next? Well, we're about to go Theology Beer Camp. Some point in the spring, we might upload an episode that we were a part of to there. We might only have those on Systematic Geekology. I'm unsure. But you will be doing, this is funny, I won't be present, but TJ will be doing an episode of this show with Trip Fuller and Josh Patterson reviewing Theology Beer Camp. We also have coming up, Dr. Thomas Ward is going to be coming back, and I forget me and him are going to be discussing uniformity, unity, that kind of stuff, because we always bring it up and never just did a full episode on it, so we're just going to do that. I'm trying to remember the guy's name right now. He's a big Doctor Who fan, and he wrote a book on the Book of John. No, he wrote a book on the John the Baptist. So we're going to do an episode about John the Baptist for Christmas time. Eric Nevins will be back as always during Christmas time to talk about the state of the podcast union. We'll be having a return guest on whose name I'm forgetting. It's Andrew, but I don't remember his last name. We didn't do it last year, but the last few years before then, we had him on to talk about missions. He's part of the that organization that talks about how many Christians are persecuted around the world. Yeah, he'll be on in November. We got a few other big episodes in January planned. We got a big one. I'm really excited. I think the one I'm most excited for as far as like regular episodes coming up, we will be having on a lady who is part of the Porter's Gate Collective, which is a music group that has writers from all the different churches come together, from Catholic Church, Methodist Church, Presbyterian Church, all come together to write lyrics to songs that any church could sing in their worship thing. So it is a church unity worship initiative. So right up our alley. We'll also be using one of their songs for our next series. And the writer we're having on is a Catholic writer. We're going to talk to her about what it's like to try to write theological lyrics with Protestants who disagree with her on a lot, and being that voice that says, yeah, we couldn't do that at a Catholic church.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any that you're excited about? I feel like you just kind of show up on, like, you just let me play stuff, except for the series. Like, we talk about the series and the other stuff, you're just like, whatever, I'll show up Tuesday.
Yeah, I trust Josh.
That's scary. Are there any ideas that you wish that we would do more in the future of, though?
I do sometimes think about, like breaking down more denominations for our listeners.
It's been a while since we've done that.
Yeah.
We should find someone who, like, really leans into, like, Anabaptist kind of theology. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
So, one thing you're really good at is not worrying about what's next. For me, you're like, or at least you come off as like kind of like a go with the flow, and you even kind of say it. You're like, I'll figure out when it happens. Like, you kind of say stuff like that pretty regularly. How do you think other people can learn to just not stress as much about what's next?
I think you just got to give it up. All that I can tell you is that you can't control what's going to happen to you. You can only control what you're going to do about it. There's no point in worrying about it before then, because you're just going to think about it too much. It's going to prevent you from actually being able to do something about it when it happens. I'm not saying don't be prepared, but being prepared for something and worrying about something aren't the same thing.
Yeah. It's a weird, like, place for humans. Or, like, we have this, like, the biological, like, clicks of urgency, and, like, we stress out because, like, that's that fight or flight thing. But a lot of the stuff we stress out today about aren't stuff you could do anything about immediately. It's like the money in your bank account. That's not really a fight or flight response. Really isn't what you need, but it's the only thing we've evolved to be able to do. So you just have that anxiety and nothing to use it towards.
Yep.
Yeah. What do people do about that? Like, they have that, like, fight or flight. Like, it's a biological, like, that's just who we are. I mean, they can't just stop being human.
You gotta tell your body to calm down.
Like watch, pray, die to yourself. Theology words.
That's like that second. I feel like it's come up pretty recently, but the way to cure hiccups, where you just remind your body that you're not a fish.
Wait a minute, what?
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
I need to know more.
Well, some people think that we hiccup because our body's trying to use gills that we used to have. And if you tell your body you're not a fish and you don't need to do that, they'll stop.
That's funny. I don't know if it's accurate, but it's just a funny idea. At the very least, it might make you laugh, which also might make you stop hiccuping.
Yeah, if you believe it's true, it'll be true.
One of those things. Those are fun. So, we mentioned it earlier, and I think it also applies to these situations that, like, being present is the answer for a lot of this stuff. And I also think that probably helps in these situations where, like, you have this fight or flight because your bank account's too low and you're not sure how you're going to pay your bills. And it's like, what's happening right now? What are you missing in this moment? Because the reality is your bank account is low. That might be stuff in the past that contributed to it. The bills coming up are in the future. What can you do right now to prepare yourself for the future is a good question. But I still think it's really about learning to be more present, because that anxiety is not doing you any good right now. You're just feeling anxious and making your body ill. Do you have any ideas how people can kind of practice presence, or like just being present?
Well, other than taking control of your own agency and being like, let me focus on what I'm doing right now. Can I redirect this energy somewhere? Is there something I can do with this? Other than, flat out stopping your own anxiety, which is not how that works. But it's hard to do. It's hard to take control of yourself when your body is trying to do it. Does that make sense?
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Oh, that was weird. Yeah, no. I like.
Okay, now I cannot hear you.
The one thing I think that helps do what you were just saying, and some Christians get weird about it, so you can word it differently if it makes you feel better. But I think meditation, and there's several different forms of meditation that are really helpful. But one, if you're specifically trying to work on being more present, seeing, not stressing out about what's next or what's going on or what happened in the past, Hakuna Matata kind of stuff. If you're trying to work on presence, I think a kind of meditation that's really helpful is find a good breathing exercise that works for you. Find a place to sit, preferably outdoors, but where there are other things going on, and don't close your eyes. Observe what is around you. So it's kind of like an observation meditation that kind of just reframe stuff so that you're not thinking of like whatever's just in your head, which is probably the stuff you're stressed out about, but you're actually focusing on what is presently around you in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
This is what I think.
I think I just used to do that constantly as a kid.
Yeah, it's good. I feel like most people probably did some version of that as a kid. They just didn't call it meditation. And at some point, we just stopped being curious about the world, and that's sad. We should stay curious. Staying curious is healthy, I feel like.
Yeah, I used to try and count the leaves on a tree when we drove past it.
See, that would probably help, I feel like.
I was never able to know if I was right or not, but I think I was close.
Yeah.
Usually.
But, I mean, I do think, speaking to that, I think there's a reason why so many of the Psalms in the Bible mention, like, nature and the stuff that's, like, around them. I think it's just being present and seeing the things in nature kind of makes it easier to worship God and think about godly things rather than stress and all the things that are keeping you down. So, Also, the Bible says meditate on the things of God. That's meditation. Yeah.
That's true.
Meditation isn't bad.
I agree.
All right. Yeah. Anyway.
So, I don't know. I thought this was a fun series to do, at least. It's fun to have so many guests that, we didn't have any new guests on this series. But we did?
Two. Pastor Greg and Rachel Hoffman.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
All right.
They're like my pastors, so they don't feel new. But they were new to the show.
Yeah, because this is just 9 weeks. I've already known those people for like 6 weeks. I don't feel
yeah. Yeah. Well, plus, you didn't meet. I was going to say, you met him when we all hung out here in Rock Hill, but you didn't get to go.
I did not.
So I guess you didn't. That's sad.
Yeah.
What's next is TJ coming to Rock Hill and meeting Rachel and Greg Hoffman in person.
I don't think we'll have time for that the next time I'm in Rock Hill.
Well, no, but what's next in general? Yeah. Sometime next year it'll probably happen.
Yeah, just generally speaking.
Yeah. But anyway, TJ, I don't know if you know this, but one thing that we like to do before wrapping up our episodes, we like to ask our guests, or sometimes our co-hosts, if you had to give a single tangible action, something practical people could go do right now, not later on, not what's next, but right now, what's something people could do that would help better engender unity in the church? TJ Blackwell.
Well, to engender unity specifically, I think what would be helpful is something you've already talked about, actually. You're thinking about, how much you disagree with this person, how much they annoy you, how you can't work with those Baptists across the street because they have a better kitchen than us. Anytime you start to doubt, the church is working together, just stop wherever you are and just look around you and just see. Just look, observe. See if anyone else is feeling the same way. Stop, count the chairs in your auditorium. After you calm down, or alternatively, after you look around you and there's a tree outside and you start counting the leaves, and then you start thinking to yourself, that guy is an idiot. Why do you tell me to count these leaves? Good. We've already solved the problem. You're not thinking about not being unified anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you have a good point there. That I think a lot of what keeps us from unity is that we're just anxious. And that might sound weird, but I mean, like a lot of the times when I hear people talk ill of another denomination, it's like, well, they believe once saved, always saved. So they think that they can just go around and sin and do whatever. Or, well, Catholics pray to the saints. Or, there's a lot of misunderstandings. But coupled with that is this anxiety of like, they don't believe right. Or if people go over there, they're not going to make it to heaven one day. And it's not like being present with like, who are you with right now? The Catholic brother next to you. Just ask him what he believes. Just talk to him.
Yeah. I was talking to some people the other day, and they were like, yeah, I don't like Catholics because they believe the more money you give to the church, the better spot you'll have in heaven. And I was like, that isn't
what?
true. And he
oh,
was like,
I know.
He was like, yes, it is. I grew up in a Catholic school. I was like, no, it's not. My podcast is about church unity. I've talked about it a lot. Shut up.
Several priests and nuns have been on the show, and we asked them that exact question.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. That's like I still love when people try and tell us what Mormons believe. And I'm like, oh, actually, the audio is terrible, but we have an episode for you.
Yeah.
We just straight up asked them all of the worst questions.
Yeah. Most of the worst questions.
Maybe that's why they didn't come back. Maybe they hate those questions.
Probably so.
Tired of people asking them.
Probably so.
Probably.
So,
yeah.
What would change in the world if everyone just started talking to the people next to them?
Yeah.
Across denominational lines, of course.
I feel like if we got to actually know the people we were with, regardless of what church they attended, it's just easier to love people. It's harder to be anxious about what they believe or what you think they're going to do to other people or, whatever. Like, if you just get to know people, it's just easier to love them. And I think a church that learns to love one another is the church that Jesus said will actually draw people into him. They'll be known for their love, whatnot.
Yeah.
Be good times.
Will be good times.
Yeah.
I think so, too. So, Josh, I'm not sure if you ever heard this before, but one of the last things that we do before our outro is called the God Moment. And we share what's been going on with us, where we saw God recently, whether that be a blessing, moment of worship, challenge. I always make my co-host Joshua go first. So if you could take his role.
Oh, yeah, I could do that. No, there's just so many ways I could answer this question. And some are your more traditional ways, actually. I've been listening to a lot of Christian music lately because of the other podcast that we sort of a part of. But today, I'm sitting there. I get to eat lunch with my wife sometimes when I have the day off and it's a weekday. She comes home. We have lunch together. We're sitting there at the dining room table, and I see a fox outside just kind of running around, and I was like, cool, a fox. I've seen foxes before. I still like foxes, but I was like, oh, hey, that's cool. She, on the other hand, gets up to go look at it. And then when it goes to lay down, she's like, goes outside to see how close she can get to get a picture of it. And she's just like in awe. And she comes back just so excited. And I don't know, something about just, ironically, just seeing how much joy she had just because she was just present with, hey, this is cool. She's never seen a fox before. So to her, this was such a cool thing. And I'm like, oh man, that's right. It was funny because I wasn't doing it because I was preparing for this podcast. It was just kind of a realization of wow, that's what it looks like when we're present. There's just so much more joy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she grew up in the city. She didn't really see no foxes around.
But yeah, TJ.
Yeah. So for me, my God moment, I was on TikTok yesterday and I saw a list of the top 5 most boring cities in South Carolina, and Lancaster, South Carolina was on there. That's my God moment. No, actually, it was really funny though.
That's
and
pretty great.
Agree. There's nothing going on.
I do too. It's dull. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But actually, we are post hurricane over here. It was a lot worse for us than it was for Josh, but it was a lot worse for Asheville, Boone, Hendersonville. These places that we're close enough to help. And we've had, my roommates are going out helping Asheville. We've got people coming into our Chipotle and being like, hey, pretend I didn't say the name of the store. I worked in Asheville, and I would like to start working here while our store is rebuilt. Like, oh, great. And we've got people just coming in to eat from, these ultra-affected areas in western North Carolina. And, we're doing what we can. And we're so busy. But we're glad to do it because we're doing what we can. We're helping. It's bad for them There are still people I know without power. Some of our employees still don't have power. But through it all, God is here. God's around.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful.
Yeah. I've been praying for my friend TJ. He's been in the exact same situation. Yeah. And meanwhile, I work at the same store, but in Charlotte, and Five Guys opened up next to us. It's been very slow. We haven't done anything. I've just been praying for TJ at work. Like, God, I know he's busy. Help him out. I'm fine, though.
It is really crazy, though, because we'll see people feed people on the way out of Greenville to go help in Asheville, out of Asheville to try and find somewhere else to be. It's wild.
That is wild.
So,
yeah.
If you like this episode, or if you hated this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend, share it with your enemies, share it with your cousins. I know I said it earlier, but the whole church merch rhymes and is pretty good. Our logo's gotten a lot better over the years, and it wears a lot better now. So if you held off before because our logo just didn't look good on somebody's chest, you thought, it's different now. We went simple, marketable.
Yeah. 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 Well, you know, we've learned that there's a difference of like podcast art and wearable logos. That's what we've learned over the years. It's taken us 8 years to get there, and that's the one thing we've learned about podcasting. That's it. We've learned nothing else.
Not a single thing.
But yeah, anyway, also consider checking out the other Anazal podcasts in the network. Very recently, Some Joyful Noises just dropped. It has a few episodes we did with the launch. TJ and I were a part of that. If you know Will Rose, if you know Nick Polk, Brandon Knight, Christian Ashley, Trip Fuller, Taylor Clyde. That's my favorite voice on there. I just like his voice. He has such a soothing voice. But anyway, yeah, check it out. Some Joyful Noises. It's great. Also check out everything Christian Ashley does, which is most of the network. Yeah.
Yeah, the Christian Ashley Show.
That's the new name of the network. That's what's next. Rebranding.
Next.
We'll just have Christian Ashley's face as the new whole church icon. Get ready for the T-shirt.
The top of the head.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, of course.
C-A. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
We hope you enjoyed it. Next week we're gonna have a special crossover episode.
Oh,
with our other
wait. We're not.
This is old.
Yeah, I forgot to tell people, because of the hurricane that TJ mentioned, TJ had some recording issues. He didn't have Wi-Fi, so we weren't able to do what we were going to do for our bonus to the series episode next week. So instead, we'll have an actual week off, and then we'll go back to some normal episodes.
Yeah. Then we're going to be doing an All Saints Day special with Pastor Will Rose and Pastor Shana Watson. After that, I'm going to be doing a recap of Theology Beer Camp, like Josh said earlier, with Trip Fuller and Josh Patterson. And finally, at the end of Season 1, Francis Chan will be on the show.
Whoa! He doesn't know yet, though, does he?
Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah, I say someone should tell him, but I feel like at this point, if he does come on and we end Season 1, we'll forget, and then we'll keep saying it at the end, and it'll just be awkward.
No, I feel like
we might need to keep the bit going.
It's going to be a pretty easy transition from Francis Chan to Pope Francis.
Yeah, okay. I guess we can go ahead and do it then. All right, Chan. Go ahead. Join the link.
Yeah, right now.
That's what's next.